I was sitting in my office on a Tuesday afternoon, staring at spreadsheets that blurred together on my computer screen. My phone buzzed on the desk. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick it up. When I opened the message, my chest tightened. It was from Audrey, the woman I had cut out of my life 3 years ago without warning or explanation, the woman whose name I had not spoken since. Her text was brief, but loaded with weight. I need to see you. It is about something you need to know. Please, Gustav. My pulse quickened. Whatever this was, I knew it would not be simple. Before we dive into what happened next, let me know where you are watching this from. Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you want to see how this situation unraveled, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe. You are going to want to stick around for what comes next. Trust me on that. Let me take you back to how Audrey and I started. I was 25, living in Portland, Oregon, working as a financial analyst at a mid-sized firm. It was a Saturday morning in late spring, the kind where rain tapped gently against the windows and everything smelled like wet pavement and coffee. I walked into my usual coffee shop on Hawthorne Boulevard, shaking water off my jacket. The line was long, and ahead of me stood a woman with auburn hair pulled into a ponytail, fumbling through her purse with a frustrated look on her face. When she reached the counter, she realized she had left her wallet in her car. I stepped forward and told the barista to add her order to mine. She turned around surprised and smiled. That smile was warm and genuine. We ended up sitting together at a corner table talking for nearly 2 hours. Her name was Audrey. She worked in marketing for a tech startup downtown. She was funny, easy to talk to, and had this way of making everything feel lighter. A week later, we went on our first real date. For the next year and a half, things felt good. We fell into a rhythm. On weekends, we would drive out to the gorge or hike trails around Mount Hood. Audrey loved being outdoors as much as I did. We would pack sandwiches, climb to viewpoints, and sit there for hours just talking. On Sundays, she would come over to my apartment and cook. She made this incredible pasta dish with roasted tomatoes and garlic that I still remember. I would bring wine and dessert from the bakery near my place. We would watch old black and white films wrapped in blankets on my couch. On my 26th birthday, she surprised me. I came home from work to find my apartment filled with balloons. She had baked a chocolate cake from scratch, something she had never done before. There were photos of us taped to the walls, little notes she had written about memories we shared. I felt like maybe I had found something real. Maybe she was the person I would build a future with. But somewhere around the 15th month, things started shifting. It was subtle at first. Audrey mentioned a new coworker named Derek. He had just transferred to her office from San Francisco. She said he was smart, brought fresh ideas to the team. I did not think much of it. She talked about work all the time. But then his name started appearing more frequently. Derek and I grabbed lunch today. Derek suggested this great new restaurant. Derek thinks we should pivot our strategy. I still trusted her. I had no reason not to. But then her schedule changed. She started staying late at the office 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. She would text me around 9 or 10, saying she was still working. When I offered to bring her dinner, she would say no, that she was almost done. When she finally got home, she seemed distant, distracted, like her mind was somewhere else. One evening, I brought it up. I tried to keep my tone calm and non-accusatory. I told her I noticed she had been spending a lot of time with Derek and asked if everything was okay between us. Her reaction caught me off guard. She got defensive immediately. She said I was being insecure, that I was acting controlling. She told me Derek was just a friend, and that I needed to stop being paranoid. I felt my stomach drop. Was I overreacting? Was I imagining things? She made me question my own instincts so deeply that I started to believe maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe I was pushing her away with my doubts. But my gut kept nagging at me. One Friday night, I decided to do something spontaneous. I stopped by the flower shop near my apartment and picked up a bouquet of tulips, her favorite. I grabbed a pizza from the place she loved on Division Street. I drove to her apartment without calling ahead, wanting to surprise her. When I knocked on the door, it took her a minute to answer. When she finally opened it, her face went pale. Behind her, sitting on her couch with a glass of red wine in his hand, was a man I assumed was Derek. They were sitting close. Too close. The television was not even on. There was a half-empty bottle of wine on the coffee table. Audrey stammered, trying to explain. She said they were just hanging out, just talking about a project. I did not yell. I did not argue. I set the flowers and the pizza down on the small table by her door. I looked at her, said the words "I am done," and walked out. I did not wait for an explanation. I did not give her a chance to spin another story. That night I blocked her number. I unfriended her on Facebook, Instagram, every platform we were connected on. 2 weeks later, I accepted a job offer I had been sitting on in Seattle. I packed my things, signed a lease on a new apartment, and moved 4 hours north. I did not tell her I was leaving. I did not owe her that. Some people called it ghosting. I called it protecting myself. I refused to sit there and be manipulated. I refused to let her twist the narrative and make me feel like I was crazy. So I disappeared. And for 3 years I did not think about her. I built a new life in Seattle. I made new friends. I found new trails to hike. I healed. Or at least I thought I did. Until that message arrived on a random Tuesday. I stared at Audrey's message for a long time before I responded. Part of me wanted to delete it and pretend I never saw it. But curiosity got the better of me. I typed back a single sentence. "What is this about?" She replied within seconds. "Can we meet? I need to talk to you in person. It is important." Against my better judgment, I agreed. I suggested a coffee shop in downtown Seattle, a neutral public place where I would feel safe. We set a time for that Saturday afternoon. When I walked into the cafe, I spotted her immediately. She was sitting at a table near the window, and I almost did not recognize her. Audrey looked exhausted. Her hair, which she used to style carefully, was pulled back in a loose, messy bun. There were dark shadows under her eyes. She had lost weight, her cheekbones more pronounced than I remembered. She wore an oversized sweater and jeans, and next to her chair sat a large canvas tote bag. When she saw me, she stood up halfway, then sat back down like she was not sure how to greet me. I walked over and sat across from her without ordering anything. I wanted this to be quick. "I know you hate me," she said quietly. "I do not blame you for that." I kept my voice even. "What do you want, Audrey?" She reached into the tote bag and pulled out a stack of papers. On top were several printed photographs. She slid them across the table. I leaned forward and looked. The photos showed a little girl, maybe 2 years old. She had curly brown hair and big hazel eyes. In one picture, she was sitting in a high chair, smiling with food on her face. In another, she was holding a stuffed animal, looking directly at the camera. "Whose baby is this?" I asked. Audrey's hands were shaking slightly as she rested them on the table. "Mine. Her name is Emma." I sat back confused. "Okay. Congratulations. But I still do not understand why you are showing me this." She took a breath like she was gathering courage. "After you left Derek, and I ended up together. We dated for about a year. At first, everything seemed perfect. He was attentive, supportive, everything I thought I wanted. But slowly, things started to change. He became possessive. He would go through my phone when I was not looking. He would accuse me of cheating, even though I was not. He started telling me I was not smart enough, not pretty enough, not good enough. It got really bad, Gustav. I felt trapped. I got pregnant with Emma during that time. When I told Derek, he panicked. He said he was not ready to be a father. He accused me of trapping him on purpose. A month after I told him, he just left. He moved out of our apartment, changed his number, blocked me on everything. I have not heard from him in over 2 years. I listened, trying to process what she was saying. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but I still could not figure out why she had tracked me down after all this time. "I have been raising Emma by myself," she continued. "It has been hard. I lost my job about 6 months ago. I have been doing freelance work here and there, but it is not enough to cover rent and daycare and everything else. My parents died when I was in college, so I do not have family to lean on. I have been struggling with depression. Some days I can barely get out of bed. I am terrified that I am going to fail her. I am terrified I am going to hurt her. Not intentionally, but because I just cannot do this anymore." I leaned back in my chair, my arms crossed. "I am sorry you are going through that, but I still do not see what this has to do with me." Audrey reached into the stack of papers and pulled out a single sheet. It looked like some kind of legal document. She pushed it toward me. "I need your help," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "I need you to take Emma." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "Just temporarily," she said quickly. "Just for 6 months. Maybe less. I just need time to get myself together. Time to find stable work, get my mental health back on track. You were always so responsible, Gustav. So kind. You were the only good man I ever knew. I trust you with her." I stood up so abruptly that my chair scraped loudly against the floor. Several people in the cafe turned to look. "Are you out of your mind? You cheated on me. You made me feel like I was losing my sanity. You gaslit me for months. I walked away from you because I had to. And now 3 years later, you show up out of nowhere and ask me to raise your child. The child you had with the man you chose over me." Tears started streaming down her face. I know I have no right to ask you this. But Emma does not have anyone else. If you do not help, I am going to have to surrender her to foster care. I do not have any other option. That is not my problem." I said, my voice cold. "You made your choices. Now you have to live with them." I grabbed my jacket off the back of the chair and walked out of that cafe without looking back. But Audrey did not give up. Over the next 2 weeks, my phone would not stop buzzing. She sent text messages every few hours. Some were pleading, some were guilt trips. "Please, Gustav, just think about it. Emma deserves better than this. You are her only hope." I ignored them all. Then she started calling. I would see her name pop up on my screen and let it go to voicemail. She left long, rambling messages, crying, begging, saying she had nowhere else to turn. Then one afternoon, she showed up at my office. I was in a meeting when my assistant knocked on the door and said there was someone in the lobby asking for me. When I walked out there, she was. Audrey stood near the elevators with Emma, in a stroller. The little girl was awake, looking around with curious eyes. My coworkers walking by glanced over, clearly confused. Audrey saw me and immediately started walking toward me. "Please," she said loudly enough that people could hear. "Just give me 5 minutes." I pulled her aside, my jaw tight. "You cannot do this. You cannot show up at my workplace." "I am desperate," she said. "If you do not help me, I am going to have to give Emma up. She will end up in the system." "Is that what you want?" I felt a knot form in my stomach. Part of me felt guilt. Emma was an innocent child. She had not asked to be born into this mess. But another part of me felt rage. This was not my responsibility. I told Audrey to leave. I told her if she came back, I would call security. She left, but not before saying one more thing. "You have 1 week to think about it. After that, I am out of options." That night, I called my friend Kyle. I told him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "Dude, she is manipulating you. This is not your problem. Walk away." But my other friend Sarah had a different take. She said, "Look, I get it. You do not owe her anything. But before you completely shut the door, maybe you should find out if she is telling the truth. What if she is lying about everything? What if this is some kind of scam?" That stuck with me. So I decided to do some digging. I reached out to a buddy of mine who still lived in Portland. His name was Marcus, and he knew a lot of people in the city. I asked him if he could find out anything about Audrey. What was her situation really like? Within 2 days, Marcus got back to me, and what he told me changed everything. Audrey was not broke. She had not lost her job. In fact, she had been promoted 6 months ago to a senior position at her company. Marcus sent me screenshots of her social media accounts. She had me blocked, but she had not blocked everyone. The posts showed her at bars with friends, photos from a weekend trip to the coast, pictures of her at a birthday party, smiling holding a cocktail. She looked healthy. She looked happy. This was not the image of a woman drowning in depression and financial ruin. I felt my blood pressure rise. I kept digging. I found Derek on LinkedIn. I sent him a message, not expecting much, but he responded the next day. We ended up on a phone call that lasted almost an hour. Derek confirmed that Emma was his daughter. He also confirmed that he had tried to be involved. He said Audrey had demanded huge sums of money from him, far more than what child support would legally require. When he refused and offered a reasonable amount, she cut him off completely. She told him he would never see Emma again unless he paid what she wanted. He had been trying to go through the courts, but it was a slow process. "She is playing you," Derek said. "She wants someone to take care of her kids so she can live her life without the responsibility. She has done this before. She tried it with her friends, with her co-workers. Now she is trying it with you." I felt sick. I felt used. But more than that, I felt angry. Audrey had lied to me. She had manipulated me. She had tried to guilt me into taking on a burden that was not mine to carry. I was done playing games. I texted Audrey and told her we needed to meet one more time. She agreed immediately, probably thinking I had changed my mind. We met at the same cafe. This time I came prepared. I had my phone ready to record audio just in case I needed proof later. When she sat down, I did not waste time with pleasantries. "I know you are lying," I said. Her face went pale. "What are you talking about? I know you did not lose your job. I know you are not broke." Derek told me everything. "I also have screenshots of your social media. You have been out partying, taking trips, living your life. You are not some struggling single mom on the edge of a breakdown. You are just tired of being a parent." She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. Her hands started shaking. "You wanted me to take Emma so you could have your freedom back," I continued. "So you could go out with your friends and not worry about daycare or bedtime or any of the responsibilities that come with being a mother. You used your own child as a pawn to manipulate me." Audrey finally spoke, her voice weak. "It is not like that." "Then what is it like?" I asked. "Because from where I am sitting, you lied about everything." She broke down. The tears came fast, and this time they seemed real. She admitted that she had exaggerated her situation. She admitted that she was overwhelmed and wanted a break. She said she thought I would feel sorry for her and just take Emma for a while. She said she never thought I would actually investigate. "You used a child," I said, my voice hard. "Your own daughter. You were willing to lie, manipulate, and guilt-trip me just so you could get what you wanted. That is one of the most selfish things I have ever heard." I told her I had already spoken to a lawyer. I told her that if she continued to harass me, I would file for a restraining order. I also told her that I was considering reporting her behavior to Child Protective Services, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because Emma deserved better. Audrey looked terrified. She promised she would stop. She promised she would leave me alone. I stood up, looked at her one last time, and walked away. This time I knew I would never hear from her again. The weeks that followed were emotionally exhausting. I felt drained in a way I had not felt in years. But I also felt something else. Relief. I had stood up for myself. I had refused to be manipulated. I had set a boundary and held it even when it was uncomfortable. I took time to focus on myself. I started going on long hikes again, something I had not made time for in months. I found a trail near Snoqualmie Falls and would go there on Saturday mornings just to clear my head. I also started seeing a therapist. I had resisted the idea before, but after everything with Audrey, I realized I needed help processing it all. My therapist, a woman named Dr. Lynn, helped me understand that what I had experienced was emotional manipulation. She helped me see that walking away from Audrey 3 years ago was not cruel or cowardly. It was self-preservation. She also helped me recognize patterns in my own behavior, ways I had ignored red flags because I wanted to believe the best in people. It was hard work, but it was worth it. A few months later, something unexpected happened. I met someone new. Her name was Jillian. A mutual friend introduced us at a summer barbecue. Jillian was a graphic designer who had moved to Seattle from Denver a year earlier. She was funny, grounded, and refreshingly honest. We started talking, and I found myself actually enjoying the conversation. There was no pretense, no games, just two people getting to know each other. We exchanged numbers, and a week later we went out for coffee. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a second date. And slowly, carefully, we started building something. Jillian was different from Audrey, in every way that mattered. She communicated openly. She respected boundaries. When I told her about my past, about what had happened with Audrey, she listened without judgment. She did not try to fix me or tell me what I should have done differently. She just listened. And that meant everything. Around that same time, I heard through Marcus that Audrey had finally reached out to Derek's family. Apparently, his parents had gotten involved. They were furious when they learned that Derek had a daughter he was not seeing. They pressured him to step up, and eventually he did. He started paying proper child support. He started taking Emma on weekends. From what I heard, he was actually trying to be a father. I felt a sense of relief when I learned that. Not for Audrey, but for Emma. That little girl deserved stability. She deserved parents who would show up for her, even if it took them a while to get there. Looking back on everything, I learned something crucial. I learned that walking away from someone who hurts you is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of survival. Audrey taught me that some people will always see you as a backup plan, a safety net they can fall back on when their first choices do not work out. But I am not a backup plan. I am not a rescue mission. I am not responsible for fixing someone else's mistakes, especially when they refuse to take accountability for them. I do not hate Audrey anymore. Honestly, I do not feel much of anything toward her. And that is the most freeing feeling of all. Hatred requires energy. It requires you to carry someone with you even after they are gone. But indifference means you have truly moved on. It means they no longer have power over you. I am in a good place now. I am with someone who respects me. I have friends who support me. I have a job I enjoy and a life I am proud of. And I got here by making one simple choice. I chose myself. I chose my peace. I chose to walk away from chaos and never look back. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is exactly that. Walk away and never look back. Even when someone comes crawling back years later with demands and expectations. Even when they try to guilt you into carrying their burdens. Because you deserve someone who chooses you the first time. You deserve someone who values you, not someone who only remembers you exist when they need something. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from someone who kept trying to drag you back into their mess? How did you handle it? What did you learn from it? I want to hear your story. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story hit home for you, do me a favor, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss more real stories like this one. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe they are going through something similar. Maybe they need the reminder that it is okay to choose themselves. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you find the courage to set your own boundaries and protect your peace. You deserve a life free from manipulation. You deserve people who show up for you, not people who only show up when it benefits them. Take care of yourself. Seriously. You are worth it.